Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm going to do a quick walkthrough and demo of the new Audiothing plugin. It's available for desktop, iPhone and iPad, called Type X. So this is an emulation of the DBX Model IBX that was released in 1978, and basically it was designed to expand dynamic range. So in other words, to make quiet parts quieter and loud parts louder. So at that time, that would have been useful for rescuing, let's say, heavily compressed audio like tape. Maybe not rescuing it, but making it sound a bit more alive. And so today you probably wouldn't need that, but it can still be actually a very interesting sound design tool. So when I started playing around with this and went through the presets, to be honest, I thought it was pretty rubbish. But once I started cranking the input signal, I realized that this could actually be very interesting, and I really like some of the results I've got from it, so I'm going to let you hear a few examples right now, and let's just get into those. So have a listen here to this, just this loop, no processing from Type X, and let's bring in Type X in. We'll look at other examples in a minute. So here, we have these two very important sliders, the expansion slider and the transition slider here. So the expansion slider is controlling how much dynamics are expanded. The more you increase this, the more expansion you're getting. And the transition level is setting the signal above which the signal will be expanded, and you can see this visualized here. So I'm cranking this pretty hard. If you look at the way this is, obviously the more you drive the input, the more extreme the effect's going to be. So if I take this down and we have just, a medium input and output, let me just bypass that. That's just not really that interesting, is it? I start cranking that input, then it really starts getting interesting. So you could bring the output level down and really push the input hard. And now, this is not the way that these units would have been used back in the day, right? For me, what's interesting about this in 2025 is using it in a creative and slightly extreme way. Let's look at another example. So it has side chaining, right? So how you set that up is going to depend on your host. The basic way, the way I would do it in AUM, which is the host I'm using here on my iPad, would be in this instance here, which is the one that I want to effect. I just open an ordinary instance of the plugin. So let's just type X, and we bring that in, right? And then let's say I have something else that I want to use as a sidechain source. Then, you open that up here. So here I've got this. Let me just bring that off a second. Okay, I got this. And so here, there's an instrument here, there's an effect slot. So in an effect slot, I click here, and then I click on multi-bus audio unit instances. And I click here, and I choose whichever one I want it to be related to. So in this case, it's here, channel 2 node, channel 2 node 2, this one, right? If so, I would bring this in here, and now these two are related, and this is the sidechain source for this one. So I'm going to get rid of those because I've already set it up with this one. So let me let you hear this now, what this is doing. So by the way, first what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to process the audio from this one as well with Type X. I don't need to do that, but I want to. But the sidechaining is happening from this instance. So once I bring this in, you're going to start hearing that sidechaining this. So if I bring this level down, you hear now all that rhythmic thing that's going on there. That's all coming from this. So now let's go back to this example. So you see here is where we choose whether we're using the input as the source for the expansion trigger or the sidechain. I've set it to sidechain. We can also control the gain of the sidechain input here. I've really cranked that. Now here, it will let you hear the source. So in this case, it's letting me hear this instance of Moto Akame, which I'm using as the sidechaining source. But if I change this to input, now we'd be hearing the sound of flus here. Okay, I put that back to sidechain now. So you also have high pass and low pass filters for the input signal if you want. And here you can control the attack and release times of the expansion effect. You can also, so that's really choppy now. So for this one, I definitely think I want a fast attack, but I want a bit of a longer release. I don't think that sounds that great like that. You can add in some noise, like the original units would have had. And you can also make sure that there's only noise when there's actually input signal, so you won't have noise on silences if you want. Let's look at another example. I mean, again, let's just listen to what that's doing. So here I'm just using this to process that sound. And that's the dry one. And that's it. So just, yeah, like making it a bit richer, a bit more alive. Now, I have another example here. Let's just take this FMS. You just trigger a note here. Let's press hold. Okay, let me bring this in. So, really going pretty extreme here. I could go even more extreme, but would you necessarily want to? I don't know, it depends what you're trying to do. So that's like really cranking the input, and I've brought the output down a lot. You can see it get very hardcore. Again, that is not how these things would have been used originally. But this machine was designed to solve a problem that was common at that time. That's not a common problem now. So you're going to want to play around with the input, mix and output levels. This also got a little soft clip thing. And I'm not really going to go through, I'll go through the presets, but you can't really expect the presets to be all that interesting. I mean, you could do things like, with the Audiothing locking system, I could lock this to input, or if I changed it to sidechain, I could lock that, whatever. I could lock, the input level and so on. But let's just go through the presets and see. Let me turn off this lock thing. This is really the kind of plugin that you want to dial everything in yourself. Presets really don't make much sense on this. See what I mean? So for me here, definitely the sidechaining feature is pretty interesting. And I do really like what it's doing on this one. I like this example a lot. Let me crank the input here a little bit. Hopefully that it'll be audible through even just small device speakers, like how radical a difference that is. If not, put on your headphones. Bypass. And on. And you can see it's really not, there's not much difference in the levels. If I turn this off, look, it's only a tiny little bit quieter. And I experimented with seeing if I can get in a similar ballpark with other effects. I haven't been able to, so this does seem to be doing something pretty interesting for sure. Alright, hope you enjoyed the video everyone, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.